Here's what happened. It is the 1960s. You have the Cold War going on with Soviet Union, and you have the start of the internet with the help of the Defense Department. Going from the 1960s, let's just jump on up to the 1980s. And a guy by the name of Sir Timothy John Berners-Lee, one hell of a name. He's also known as Tim BL. He invents the World Wide Web in his mid 30s. I'm 32 and I'm impressed on that one. Going from the 1980s, gonna jump on up to the early 2000s, and you have Facebook that gets started. And then in 2010, you have Instagram that gets started. And now, as of last year, a stat for you that on TikTok, for every minute, there's 600 and over 600 million videos watched on TikTok every minute. We're going to get into it for today with how to navigate the overwhelming information online to avoid burnout. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Today, we're getting started in this problem of the amount of information that is out there. It is mind-blowing to think about that, of that journey from like the 1960s to where it is today. It's crazy. It's wild. It's intense. I'm trying to think of that in my math, like as I'm thinking through the math there. Okay, 1960s. Man, I'm being put on the spot here. 1980s, so you get 2000s, you got 40 years there, 2020. So like, a little over 60 years. It's wild. And then just, it feels like it keeps on getting faster and faster with the development of AI. So I want to get into it with you for this problem of how to navigate the overwhelming amount of information that is out there. I think what is a great place to start is to remember how this connects back to burnout. I want to get into that for you. So with burnout, you have it where for that spectrum, let's bring that spectrum back into this. So every day your habits decide where you're moving towards on the spectrum for which end. On one end, you've hit burnout. What that means for your work is that you've lost your job, or you're so exhausted that you've either lost your job because you have terrible performance, you're exhausted and super negative about the work that you're doing, or you've left the job, you've quit the job, you've had the business that you either close down the business, you sell the business. It's a new transition. Okay. We'll put quotes on that. New transition, new chapter of life. That is hitting burnout. And then it does take potentially years to recover from burnout. I experienced that in my own burnout back in 2018. And it's something I don't want for you. It's so much unnecessary suffering that comes with that. And then on this other spectrum, you've made burnout extinct. And that is something where it is a constant focus when it comes to your habits, because it's not just like, okay, you've hit that end of the spectrum of made burnout extinct and now everything's all great and you never have to focus on your habits ever again. That isn't the case. Like, it is a daily practice is what it can feel like. And again, no one's perfect, so not every day is perfect, but your body has a lot of capacity here. You can think about it as a balloon, where that stress and that overwhelm and the anxiety and this pressure that we can feel in our day to day that can move us towards that first red flag of burnout, chronic exhaustion, like the body can handle it because it is like that balloon filling up. And I feel too, a lot of us can be surprised of actually how much the body can take on, because it's been years of being built over time. So I want to help to get some of that air out when it comes to how you navigate the information online for burnout. Because I don't know if I'm the only one here. Well, no, of course I'm not the only one here of feeling this, where you get online and you're scrolling a bit on social media and then all of a sudden like 20, 30 minutes go by and you're like, shit, where did the time go? Like, how the hell did I get here? And all of a sudden you're feeling even more stressed out, maybe like pressured, overwhelmed. And you're just like, I was trying to relax here and I do not feel relaxed. If anything, I feel like more stressed out. So that can come up when we're online. And then especially if we're trying to use the information online to implement it in our own life. And that could be with new habits that we're wanting to learn about. It could be, which products to get that are safe for our body. If that's on, I'm thinking about like shampoos to deodorants, or foods, like understanding what are going to be the healthiest food options for you, and understanding, okay, what are the vitamins I'm needing? What are the different nutrients that are going to be required for me to feel energized to move on with my day. Trying to think what else could come up online. Let's see. Okay, what else could come on? Well, connecting. If you want to connect with friends or networking when it comes to business, there's so many possibilities here. I mean, I could keep going on just one whole episode of all the possibilities for online. So, with that, it's like it's a moment to have to create filters to be able to navigate all this information. And that's what I want to get into today with you is how do you navigate the information that's out there and go through a few different points. First, I want to share what I do. So whenever I think, especially I'm thinking of this recording in the chapter we're in right now, the chapter of the elections that just happened here in the U.S. There's a lot of information out there that gets put out there, a lot to latch on to the fears and our emotions and cause us to make decisions and react super fast to certain decisions. And I think about that for something that gets you angry or upsets you or is a different type of view than yours. That charge can come up within your body and you can feel it in your stomach. I know I do for that anger. It's like bubbling up and the sensations are coming up. And I'm like, what the hell? This person said this, or this happened on this campus. Like, what the hell? Like that can bubble up. I'm just like, what the hell is this? So when that happened, for me in the past, like I'd read the headline and then like move on with my day. Or I'd get like really pissed off and it would cause me to like, yeah, I mean, sometimes I'd just be like, what the hell is going on here? So when that would happen, I wouldn't actually take the time to look at the information as much as I could. So what I want to share with you is if ever you're on social media and you see these headlines and these stories that come out for articles, this is a moment to bring on a habit that you can add in your burnout proof playbook of a habit of filtering the information and the headlines. Meaning, if you get a headline that comes back with someone's views, let's say it's a politician, you have a political candidate and someone says, this person said this. What is going to be helpful is to understand where those people that are saying that, if it's through a video or through an article and writing it, where are they getting that information? Because if the person said it, then there's a source. If that's an interview that this candidate did, if that is an event that this person talked at, there is a source. And so that's important for you to take the time to actually, if a headline gives you a charge, it's to go and search for the source of the video or the source of the information. And that doesn't take that long. I know that could feel overwhelming for you and add more stress to you. But what this is doing is it helps to close a loop, because whenever you see a headline and you may not fully understand what's going on, or there's someone's view that comes up that you just disagree with and it's bubbling up inside, you're not going to just like brush it away and then keep on going with your day. Like that stuff builds within you and you're just constantly like charged up. So it creates an open loop that can't be suppressed because you're just like moving on with your day. So if you can go to the source, what could actually happen is, one, things could be actually different than what's said in the article. And what could happen is it may actually be taken out of context is another thing that could come up. Or it could be super exaggerated for a story. I think about a moment back in August where this really stuck out for me, where I saw this headline for an article from from the corporate media that had this title, something along the lines of like, "Are ultra processed foods really so bad?" And I was confused because I know I've done my research when it comes to ultra processed foods and the effects and the amount of studies that are out there to show like how negatively it can affect your health. So then I went to people I trusted, the health experts, to see if they were talking about this, and they were pissed off, and there was this pushback. And literally, from what I could see, just around a day later, the headline changes to this. It was something like why one dietitian is speaking up for ultra processed foods. Come on, like just seeing that change in a day, how less overwhelming that is of a statement, how less of like a blanket statement that is. Because it goes from what is just a generalization that could be the masses for an opinion to the masses for information of all ultra why ultra processed foods aren't so bad, to then it went to one dietitian. And that's the reality that we live in. And I want to make sure you know that stuff, because it can get crazy out there. It can feel sometimes on the internet like the Wild West. Or I think of that game, the Oregon Trail, where crazy shit can happen on the Oregon Trail. Like, you can also have that time where you're super alone in it. So I do want to make sure that you're realizing that that's out there, and to be aware of that. So whenever you can go back to the source, that is going to be really helpful for you as a habit. And you can continue to practice this. It's going to take repetition and showing up and putting those reps in. Not every day is going to be perfect. You're going to have your moments. But whenever you see something that really creates a sensation within your body, take the time to explore that, because once you close out that loop, that's going to be really helpful. And again, it could be like, okay, you found out they said that, now you know that, and you can respond for your next actions. Going into another moment that comes up for me is what I do daily. I use ChatGPT. So I use that daily as a platform. And if you're not familiar with ChatGPT, it's a large language learning model that helps to, I mean, it's like a magician out there and a wizard. That's how I think about it. You're able to ask questions and it'll pull information from the internet. Anything that's digital, it'll pull that information and be able to share it in like a conversational way, which is mind blowing. I mean, to think that we're now at that point, and thinking back a little over 60 years ago, it was just the start of the internet. Crazy. I mean, mind blowing to think about that. Super wild. So with ChatGPT, I use this daily as a great way to answer quick questions. So I don't have to go on Google or another search engine. I can just type it in real quick. And it's something you can download on your phone as an app, or you can go on the website. But this has been really helpful for me to not get lost in the overwhelming amount of information online, because I can ask a simple question and then I'll get sometimes not so simple response back, but I'll get a response back to that question, rather than have to sift through articles, sift through like potential keywords. If ever you had to search anything on Google and you're just like asking a question, some other random shit pops up at the same time. And you're like, this is not what I asked for. So ChatGPT has really been helpful for a few reasons for me that I want to highlight for you that could be helpful, that have helped me to avoid burnout. One, it's been helpful for food. So understanding, being able to ask what are the nutrients that I'm needing for my body, and understanding the food sources that have those type of nutrients. So cool to go through, it's a game changer. I'm able then to understand those foods, and then I can also understand which foods which foods affect me differently. And so I can try a bunch of different varieties of food, let's say that have vitamin D, and then determine, okay, which one do I like the most and actually settles with my stomach, and isn't gonna cause extra gas that I don't need. So that's been helpful with ChatGPT. I've also been able to use it to add up my calories and protein. That's been really helpful when it comes to my workouts, making sure I'm getting enough protein, enough calories to be able to support my body. And I went through that phase with food where I think this is going to be for another conversation that we'll talk about, but I really was scared of my body. And I go back to how numb I was feeling. I also was scared about what type of foods to eat in. And what I go back to for the quote is, the more you understand something, the less scary it is. So I used to not even be able to like count the calories, count the protein, like even get to that point. But now, because of how comfortable I am with my body, how trusting I am with my body, I'm able to go back to that and understand, okay, what amount of calories and protein am I going to need to feel good? And then I connect the feeling to the number, and that makes it a lot easier to make sure I'm hitting that, if that's every day, or if I look at it at the full week, how much do I need in the full week? So that's been able to calculate. It's been great to calculate that number. And then I've been able to reference it of looking back on, hey, the last 7 days, what was my total calories, total protein for that week? And then I can then base it off of what was it like last week? What was it like the week before? And then the week before that. And it starts to create these amazing patterns. And you're able to like look at another approach to your health through this type of platform. And that is been so awesome for helping me out with not getting overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there, amount of resources. It's been super cool. So when it comes to that as a tool, that's been helpful. I think that can be added into the burnout proof playbook as a potential habit is using a platform like ChatGPT. There's a few other large language learning models that are out there. So finding the one that's right for you. But with the development of AI and the exponential growth that's happening with this type of technology, I really believe it's such a useful tool to try out for yourself and figure out how you could use this every day. I also use it as another example to help me with my grammar so I can improve my writing because I suck at my writing compared to my speaking. So that's another way. I'm trying to think if there's any other ways I can tell you right now how I use it. But yeah, it does feel, it's basically how it feels. What it feels like is trying to think, it's like car windows. Imagine that when you're driving down the highway, imagine if you had no windows around you. It would be intense for the wind that's coming at you. And that's what it can feel like with the amount of information that's out there. So by going through a platform like ChatGPT, for me, what it does is it allows me to get nice and comfy in the car. Windows are all up. I'm feeling great. And I'm able to pick the information I need for my day to continue to move forward. Because I also have like potential business questions that I can ask, or, hey, like this is an idea I'm interested in implementing for a podcast episode. What resonates for you? And I'll ask the ChatGPT that question and I'll get a response back. So those are other different ways. Now I want to get into understanding just going back to the amount of overwhelming information that's out there. I do want to make this point, which is figuring out what's in alignment for you. I go to this quote by John Butcher, who's a mentor of mine. I talked about him before, where it's a quote that there is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. So what you can see on the internet is the effects of sunlight. This is one that stuck out to me. I had so much fear about getting outside because, oh my God, I thought I'm going to get cancer, skin cancer. And it terrified me. It caused me to stay stuck inside, which actually didn't help me mentally for my health. It made me super paranoid and scared and fearful. That then held me back in my career, held me back in my relationships, held me back in focusing on my health and fitness. So then all of a sudden, I think of Dr. Andrew Huberman talking about the positive effects of getting sunlight, where it's like getting outside to help with your circadian rhythm, be able to get your vitamin D. And the amount of contradicting information that is online, I had to sift through that and figure out, okay, what's in alignment for me and what's going to make me feel comfortable? Well, one is can I understand when the UV rays are the most damaging to my skin? Oh yeah, cool. There's a website I can go to. Okay, cool. It can tell me what the amount of time to be outside before I get burnt for my skin. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I can make sure I get enough time in there. I can make sure I get my sunlight in. That helps out with my circadian rhythm. And then I do notice when I'm spending time outside more, I notice a difference in my day-to-day life. I'm able to feel more energized in my day. I'm able to connect better with my partner and my friends. And that would not have been possible if I didn't know how to sift through the overwhelming information online. Because if I were to take everything at face value, there'd be so many contradictions out there. And I know you've experienced that before. So figuring out what's in alignment for you, what resonates with you, what's something that you can then try out is super important. And then from there, you can make sure that you got to figure out what is going to make you comfortable to be able to move forward. And for me, in this situation, when it came to sunlight, because I had that fear of potentially getting cancer with this thing, but then I'm getting this other important information of why to get outside, for helping with my sleep and overall, vitamin D. So then I was like, okay, well, if I know how long I can be out there before burning, that feels great. And yes, if I am, I think about this for the other fear that can come up is like, oh, the damaging to my skin, I'm going to look older. I'm like, that's not super important for me right now. But what is important is make sure I'm getting great sleep quality, which actually would help me for how I'm looking, and making sure that I'm getting, the necessary vitamins for my body as well. So that's another example. Another one I want to highlight, actually, this comes up is, and it's related to food. So I feel like I got to do a whole new one on food. But another one that came up for me for a story was understanding, I'm a documentary guy. So online, you can see different things that post up of like, oh, what type of lifestyle you should try for your, or like what type of diet to try for different foods. And there's such an amount, like massive amount of information out there for diets and what's the best food options for you and all this. So I got trapped in the vegan documentary and caused me to go down the rabbit hole of being a vegan. And I did that for a little over 5 years. I was vegan, and I got nothing against vegans. I got friends I know that are vegan, and what happened was I realized, okay, I'm missing a supplement, B12. It comes out to B12, B12. So for me, I also noticed so I had it supplemented for that vitamin, but then I also was noticing like a lot of bloating and gassiness for my body, and realizing that, man, I'm eating a lot of beans and a lot of legumes and a lot of veggies that are making me really gassy. So what I had to start to do is through being online is have to sift through, because I'm like, okay, I'm super gassy. So for me, I had to look at what are some other options that are out there to try out for programs for figuring out what the right foods are for me. And so I did a program where I ended up bringing meat back into my diet and started off with eggs. And then I noticed a difference that was happening for me. But then I got really scared because it's like something new from the beliefs that I had of, oh, I have to stay vegan for this, and this. Like I felt like morally right to do. But for my health and my body, I was noticing it was not helpful. I was noticing there's a big difference when I bring meat back in. So just realizing of what resonates for me, what's my right way was helpful to take in information and find the solutions. But if you just try to put that control out to other people of how you think you should live your life, or what you should do in your career, or what you should do in relationships, without you filtering that all through what resonates for you, it's going to be super overwhelming. And it does feel like that. I love this way of putting it, of like a driftwood just floating all across the ocean. So what it comes back down to for a habit that you can add in your burnout proof playbook is understanding what it is that you want in certain areas of your life. And certain things that you want, being able to understand what is the information I need to know to be able to make a decision for the action to move forward in this certain area of my life. So when it comes to food, okay, what am I wanting out of food? And then that could be, I want to feel more energized for my body. I'm feeling really gassy right now. I need to figure out a solution to that. Okay, what are some of the solutions? And then let me try them and then go through it one at a time. And when you're looking for information out there, make sure as well that you look at where that information is coming from. So there are those that have credentials. If that's in the health space, you have certain credentials. But there's also an understanding of, are there any biases that this health expert has? And this is kind of like next level ninja shit. So just at face value, understanding where you're getting your sources from for food. And then literally, if it's a quote expert in this area, understand, okay, let me try the food and actually determine if it resonates for me with my body. Actually, let me check back in with my body and not just blanketly say this is the right thing to do. But is this something that actually resonates? Because for 5 years, I didn't do that with being a vegan. I didn't actually really check in with my body and realize, oh no, I've been way more gassy than I had before being a vegan. Oh wait, like I was not, I'm feeling bloated, like way more bloated. So doesn't seem to be working, because you have that one area. Because what's really important to realize with this is that you got to figure out then where the funding is coming from for these people that are telling you this information, because there could be some biases if that's in the food industry for some narratives that got to get pushed. And it's really important to make sure that you have your radar opened of where the bullshit is for that radar when it comes to this. Now, what also you can remember is it can be this narrative that's been pumped out there of, get off of the social media platforms, get off of so much time on your phone. And yes, it's important to take your breaks. That is absolutely important for this. But when you're in it, which is the whole point of this, when you're in it, it's also important to acknowledge, like, staying informed is really helpful. I don't believe in just completely being ignorant to the issues that are happening right now in this world, because I was for so long. I was so long ignorant and trying to live in my own world and ignore what was going on out there. When I know really another driver for me is wanting to make a positive impact on the lives of other people and be able to understand what's going on. What is happening for the current feelings of different communities. So that it's been helpful. It's important to take those breaks, but also when you're in it, just breathe and take it slow for the information that you're moving through. If you feel like you're scrolling way too fast, slow down. Check back in. Do you feel like you're holding your breath? That's another thing for the body. Do you feel some tension in your chest or your stomach? Check back in with your body, because we tend to spend a lot of time actually numbing ourselves as we're online. I noticed that for myself. I was noticing that about I'm not even really checking in with my body and how it's feeling for the tension and the pressure. So when you can do those check-ins, that can also help you to make sure that you're not moving towards the exhaustion and the overwhelming feeling that can lead you to hitting that first red flag and then moving you towards a one-way ticket of burnout. And then now to recap it for you for these habits. First is whenever you have a headline that hits you, that creates a body sensation charge, if that's angry, sad, overwhelmed, and it's information about a person, about an event, or about something that you're trying to learn, take the time to go to the source. Understand the source of the information. If that was a video or a photo, being able to go to the source would be really helpful so that you have clarity on what's actually going on for objectively rather than through the biases that are out there. Then the next thing with this is being able to have a filtering system. So understanding what is in alignment for you and understanding specifically what are the problems that you're seeking solutions towards in your life. So that can be helpful as well. For another filter is having a platform like ChatGPT or another language learning model where you can ask it specific questions and then get the responses back. So you don't have to sift through all the other shit that's out there on Google and searching on the different search engines platforms. And then the final thing that you can focus in on is making sure that you constantly check back in on your body. Whenever you try something new, if that's an exercise activity or if that is certain foods to understand what is going to energize you, try different things, but come back and determine, is this resonating for me, for my body? Do I feel more energized? Is this supporting me towards my goals and towards a vision I have for my life, for who it is I want to become? And if it's not, then make a change. If it is, continue to show up and put those reps in. But I hope this can help you to continue on this journey, because there's such amazing opportunities online to get information to help you in your life as you're moving towards making burnout extinct and building out your burnout proof playbook. And again, I want to help provide the best that I can, filtering, helping to be a filter for you anyway with this information. But especially as you continue to navigate this on social media, and especially in the chapter we're in right now with post-elections and a lot of different narratives that are going out there, I really hope this can help you so that you can avoid burnout. And if you haven't heard it yet today, I want to tell you, I believe in you. You're so capable of this, to be able to make this happen for your life. And just continue to show up and put those reps in as you're navigating the wild, wild west, it feels like, on the internet. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate this podcast to help get this message out of Make Burnout Extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I don't take that for granted, and I'm so excited to reconnect again soon.